The truth came out at Christmas dinner about my husband and my sister-in-law. We were passing the mashed potatoes when my brother casually mentioned how weird it was that his wife Natasha knew our guest bedroom so well. She'd directed him to the spare towels in the hall closet, knew which drawer held the extra phone chargers, even mentioned that the mattress was firm but comfortable. My husband choked on his wine. Natasha went pale. "How would you know that?" my brother asked, laughing, still oblivious. The table went silent. My mother-in-law stopped mid-bite. Dad set down his fork carefully, the way he does when he knows something terrible is about to happen. I felt cold. That guest bedroom had been my husband's home office until 6 months ago, when he suddenly decided we needed to convert it. He'd bought all new furniture, an expensive mattress, blackout curtains, said he wanted visiting family to be more comfortable. "Answer him," I said quietly. Natasha's eyes filled with tears. My husband wouldn't look at anyone. My brother's smile faded as he looked between his wife and my husband, his brain finally catching up. "How long?" I asked. Silence. "How long?" 2 years, Natasha whispered. My brother stood up so fast his chair fell backward. "You've been sleeping with my sister's husband for 2 years? In their house?" The affair had started at my son's birthday party. They'd both gone to grab ice from the garage freezer. By the time the cake was served, they'd exchanged numbers. For 2 years, Natasha would come over for coffee while my brother was at work. My husband would leave his office door unlocked. They'd spend hours in that converted guest room while I was teaching 4th grade across town. My brother was screaming now, his hands shaking. My mother-in-law was crying, repeatedly saying, "Not in this house, not in this family." Dad just sat there, looking at me with this expression I'd never seen before, like he was waiting to see what I'd become. I stood up, walked to the guest bedroom, and opened the nightstand drawer. Inside was a jewelry box I'd never seen, a delicate gold bracelet with an inscription, "For my Natasha, eternally yours." I brought it back to the dining room and dropped it on the table next to the turkey. "He bought you jewelry," I said. "With our money from my teacher salary, from our joint account." My brother grabbed the bracelet, his face crumbling. "I bought her the exact same one for our anniversary. You even stole my gift idea?" What destroyed me wasn't the affair itself. It was the efficiency of their deception, the way they'd carved out a life in my home while I was teaching children about honesty and integrity. Every family dinner, every holiday, every casual coffee visit had been a lie. They'd looked me in the eye hundreds of times and chosen to continue. My husband finally spoke. "I wanted to tell you." "When?" I asked. "Before or after you redecorated our guest room with affair furniture?" He had no answer. I told everyone to leave. My brother grabbed Natasha's arm and dragged her toward the door. My in-laws followed, my mother-in-law still crying. My parents stayed behind to help clean up the dinner no one had eaten. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about all the signs I'd missed, how my husband had become so particular about the guest room, how Natasha always volunteered to help me with dishes, giving my husband time alone upstairs, how they'd both encouraged my brother and me to take that marriage retreat last summer, leaving them alone for an entire weekend. At 2 a.m, I went to the guest bedroom and started pulling out drawers. That's when I found the ultrasound photo tucked behind the jewelry box, 8 weeks along, dated from last month. On the back, in Natasha's handwriting, "Our future." I sat on that affair bed holding the ultrasound, my hands shaking so badly I could barely see the image. The baby had my husband's features already visible in profile. Or maybe I was imagining it. Maybe I was going insane. My phone buzzed. My brother. "Are you okay?" I sent him the photo without explanation. He called back immediately. "Is that what I think it is?" "Found it in the guest room. 8 weeks. The line went silent for a long time. Then, "I'm coming over." He arrived within 15 minutes, still wearing his Christmas sweater. His eyes were red and swollen. We sat in my kitchen drinking coffee at 2:30 a.m, both of our marriages imploding simultaneously. "I keep thinking about our wedding," he said. "She caught the bouquet at yours. We joked about it being a sign. Your husband was my best man. He gave this whole speech about brotherhood and loyalty." I remembered that speech, how my husband had called my brother the most important person in his life besides me, how he'd promised to always protect our family. The entire wedding party had cried. "When did we become people they could do this to?" my brother asked. I had no answer. My husband came home at dawn. He'd spent the night at a hotel, apparently, or maybe with Natasha. I didn't care anymore. "We need to talk," he said. "About the baby?" He froze. "How did you—" I found the ultrasound. "In the drawer. With the jewelry you bought her." He sat down heavily at the kitchen table. "I was going to tell you." "When?" "After it was born. She told me last week. I've been trying to figure out how to handle this." I laughed. Actually laughed. "Handle this? You've been sleeping with my sister-in-law for 2 years, got her pregnant, and you're trying to handle it?" "I love her." Those 3 words hit me like a physical blow. It would have been easier if he'd said it meant nothing, if he'd begged for forgiveness. But love, he loved her. "Get out," I said quietly. "This is my house too. Then I'll leave." I packed a bag and drove to my parents' house. Mom was already awake, making coffee. She took one look at my face and pulled me into a hug. I hadn't cried yet. Not during dinner, not while finding the ultrasound, not during my conversation with my brother. But in my mother's arms, I finally broke. Dad came downstairs and sat with us while I told him about the pregnancy, about the 2 years of lies, about how my husband loved her. "What are you going to do?" Dad asked. "I don't know." Over the next week, the full scope of their affair became clear. My brother hired a private investigator who compiled a timeline that made me physically ill. They'd been together at least twice a week for 2 years, sometimes in my house, sometimes in hotels when they were supposedly working late. Once, they'd spent an entire weekend at a bed and breakfast 2 towns over while my brother and I had taken our kids to visit his parents. The investigator found credit card receipts for romantic dinners, gifts, weekend trips. My husband had spent over $30,000 on Natasha. Money that came from our joint account, money I'd earned teaching. My brother filed for divorce immediately. I couldn't bring myself to do the same. Not yet. I kept thinking maybe I was wrong. Maybe the ultrasound wasn't what it seemed. Maybe there was some explanation that would make sense. Natasha called me 4 days after Christmas. I almost didn't answer. I need to explain, she said. Explain what? That you're pregnant with my husband's child? It's not his. I went still. What? The baby. It's not his. I got pregnant by someone else. You're lying. I'm not. I was seeing someone else too. Another man. The timeline doesn't match up with your husband. I felt sick. So you were cheating on my brother with 2 men? She started crying. I know how it sounds, but I need you to believe me. Your husband thinks it's his, but it's not. I got the paternity test yesterday. Why are you telling me this? Because he's going to leave you for me, for this baby. And I need you to know it's not even his. He's destroying both our marriages for a child that isn't his. I hung up. That night, I told my husband what Natasha had said. He didn't believe it. Refused to even consider it. She's lying to protect herself, he insisted. Then take a paternity test. I will. After the baby's born. But I know it's mine. How do you know? Because I know her. I love her. She wouldn't lie to me. The irony was suffocating. He trusted the woman who'd been lying to both her husband and me for 2 years, who'd been sleeping with at least 2 men simultaneously, who'd built an entire secret life in my guest bedroom. I moved out permanently, rented a small apartment across town. My son didn't understand why mommy and daddy weren't living together anymore. He was only 6. I couldn't tell him the truth. Not yet. My brother got custody of his 2 daughters. Natasha moved in with my husband within a week of me leaving. They played house in what used to be my home. She redecorated, changed the paint colors, replaced the furniture, erased me methodically. My mother-in-law called to apologize, said she'd raised her son better than this, that she was ashamed. But she also said she hoped I'd understand if she maintained a relationship with him. He was still her son. The baby, regardless of paternity, would be her grandchild. I told her I understood. I didn't. The divorce proceedings began in February. My lawyer was aggressive, compiling evidence of the affair, the financial deception, everything. My husband's lawyer argued that I'd abandoned the marriage by moving out, that I'd given up my claim to the house by leaving voluntarily. In April, Natasha gave birth to a baby girl. My husband posted photos on social media, cradling the infant with a caption about unexpected blessings and new beginnings. The comments were full of congratulations from people who didn't know the truth, who thought this was a beautiful love story instead of a betrayal that had destroyed 2 families. My brother showed up at my apartment the day after those photos were posted. He was shaking with rage. Did you see? He asked. I saw. He's posting pictures of my wife's baby like he's the proud father, like none of this matters. Did Natasha ever tell you about the other man? He nodded. She admitted it during the divorce mediation, said it was some guy from her gym. They'd been together for 6 months. She's not even sure which one is the father. Has she done a paternity test? She refuses, says it doesn't matter. That your husband wants to be the father regardless of biology. I try to imagine that mindset. Wanting something so badly you'd ignore reality. Building your entire future on a maybe. The divorce was finalized in June. I got the house after all. My lawyer proved that my husband had been systematically draining our accounts to fund his affair. The judge didn't look kindly on that. I also got full custody of our son, with my husband receiving supervised visitation every other weekend. Natasha and my husband got married in July. A small ceremony, just immediate family. My ex-mother-in-law attended but looked miserable in the photos. My brother received an invitation. He burned it. I thought that would be the end of it, that I'd rebuild my life and move forward. But in September, my brother called with news that changed everything. Natasha got the paternity test. He said, the baby isn't his. Whose is it? The gym guy's. He took one too. It's a match. Does he know? I just told him. He's losing it. My ex-husband called me that night. His voice was broken. I need to talk to you. We have nothing to talk about. Please, I made a terrible mistake. I hung up. He showed up at my house the next morning. The baby isn't mine, he said immediately. I know. I gave up everything for her, for that child. I destroyed our marriage, hurt our son, threw away 8 years together. For a lie. I looked at him standing on my porch. This man I'd loved since college. This man who'd proposed to me on the beach where we'd had our first date, who'd cried when our son was born, who'd promised me forever. What do you want from me? I asked. I want to fix this. I want to come home. This isn't your home anymore. We can start over. Go to counseling. I'll do whatever it takes. You can't undo what you did. People make mistakes. People deserve second chances. I almost laughed. You didn't make a mistake. You made choices. Hundreds of choices. Every time you texted her. Every time you met her in our guest room. Every time you looked me in the eye and lied. Those weren't mistakes. They were decisions. I'm sorry. So am I. I closed the door. He kept trying. Flowers delivered to my classroom. Letters slipped under my door. Messages through mutual friends. Each one insisting that we belonged together. That our love was worth fighting for. That he'd changed. But I'd changed too. I'd learned that love without trust is just performance. That apologies without changed behavior are manipulation. That some bridges once burned can't be rebuilt. My brother started dating someone new in October. A woman named Beatrice who worked at the library. She was kind and honest and made him laugh again. His daughters adored her. He brought her to Thanksgiving at my parents' house. My son adjusted slowly. He stopped asking when Daddy was coming home. Started calling my apartment our house. Made friends with the kids in our new neighborhood. His teacher said he was doing well. No behavioral issues, no signs of trauma. But sometimes I'd find him crying in his room, holding a photo of our family from before. The Christmas before everything fell apart. All of us smiling, arms around each other. A lie captured perfectly on film. "Do you miss Daddy?" I asked one night. "I miss the old Daddy," he said. The one who lived with us. The one who wasn't sad all the time. My ex-husband's visitation had become increasingly depressing. He'd show up looking exhausted and defeated. He'd take our son to the park, but spend the whole time on his phone. He'd promise fun activities, but cancel at the last minute. Our son had started asking if he had to go. In November, my lawyer called. "Your ex-husband is petitioning for increased custody." "On what grounds?" "He's arguing that you've been alienating your son from him, that you're preventing their relationship." "That's absurd. Our son doesn't want to go because his father is depressed and distracted." "That's not how he's framing it. He's claiming you've been speaking negatively about him, poisoning your son against him." The hearing was scheduled for January. My ex-husband showed up with a new lawyer and a prepared statement about how I'd been systematically destroying his relationship with our son, how I'd refused to facilitate bonding, how I'd made disparaging comments about him in front of our child. None of it was true. But his lawyer presented it convincingly, made me sound vindictive and cruel, a woman scorned who'd weaponized her child. My lawyer countered with testimony from our son's therapist, who confirmed that the child's reluctance stemmed from his father's emotional unavailability, not my influence. With school records showing I'd never missed a parent-teacher conference or school event, while my ex-husband had missed every single one since the separation. With text messages proving I'd encouraged visitation repeatedly, even when our son was hesitant. The judge ruled in my favor. Custody arrangements remained unchanged. My ex-husband left the courtroom looking defeated. Natasha filed for divorce from him in February, less than 8 months after their wedding. She'd apparently met someone else. Someone who didn't carry the baggage of a destroyed family. Someone who could give her the fresh start she wanted. My ex-husband called me that night, drunk. "Everyone leaves," he said. "You, Natasha. My parents won't even talk to me anymore. I'm completely alone. You did this to yourself." I know I did. I just don't know how to live with it." I felt nothing. No satisfaction in his suffering. No vindication. Just emptiness where my compassion for him used to be. "You should talk to someone," I said. "A therapist." "I've been going. It doesn't help. Nothing helps." "Then keep going. Eventually it will." I hung up and blocked his number. My brother's divorce was finalized in March. He got full custody of his daughters. Natasha had visitation twice a month, but rarely used it. She'd moved 2 hours away with her new boyfriend and the baby. Started a new life where no one knew what she'd done. "Do you ever miss her?" I asked my brother once. "I miss who I thought she was," he said. "But that person never existed. She was always this. I just couldn't see it." We spent a lot of time together that year. 2 people rebuilding from the rubble of their destroyed marriages. We took our kids to the zoo, to museums, to the beach where we'd played as children. We had family dinners with Mom and Dad every Sunday. We learned to laugh again. In May, I met someone. A man named Elliot who taught music at the high school. He asked me to coffee after a staff meeting. I said no, initially. I wasn't ready. Wasn't sure I'd ever be ready. But he asked again the next week, and the week after that. Always casual. Always respectful of my boundaries. Eventually, I said yes. We talked for 4 hours that first coffee date. About everything except my divorce. He didn't push, didn't ask probing questions, just listened when I was ready to share. Our second date was dinner. Our 5th was a movie. By the 10th, I'd introduced him to my son. They bonded over a shared love of superhero movies and terrible jokes. "I like Elliot," my son said one night. "He makes you smile." I hadn't realized how long it had been since I'd smiled. Really smiled. Not the polite version I gave colleagues or the strained one I gave my ex-husband during pickups. A real smile that reached my eyes. My ex-husband found out I was seeing someone in July. Our son had mentioned it during visitation. Innocent kid talk about mommy's friend Elliot. My ex-husband called me 17 times that night. I didn't answer. He showed up at my house the next morning. "You're dating someone? That's none of your business." "It is when he's around my son. Elliot is good to him. They get along well. I don't want another man raising my child." "Then maybe you should have thought of that before you destroyed our family." His face crumpled. "I made a mistake. A terrible mistake. But I've been trying to make amends. I've been going to therapy. I've been working on myself. And you're just moving on like none of it matters?" "It doesn't matter," I said. "Not anymore. What you did broke something that can't be fixed. I've accepted that. You should too." "Do you love him?" The question caught me off guard. Did I? It was too soon to say. But I felt something. A warmth. A possibility of happiness. A future that didn't involve constantly looking over my shoulder for the next betrayal. "That's none of your business either." He left. Elliot and I continued seeing each other through the summer and fall. He was patient with my trust issues. Understanding when I pulled away. Steady when I tested whether he'd stay. By Christmas, we'd been together for 7 months. He joined us for the holidays at my parents' house. My son hung on his every word. My brother approved. Mom kept shooting me knowing looks. Dad pulled Elliot aside for what I assumed was the protective father talk. This Christmas was different from the last. No devastating revelations. No marriages imploding. Just my family, my son, and a man who made me feel safe. Who'd never given me reason to doubt him. Who showed up consistently and kept his promises. My ex-husband spent Christmas alone. Natasha was in another state with her new family. His parents had reluctantly forgiven him, but spent the holiday with his sister instead. He sent me a text at midnight. "I hope you're happy." I was. Not in the uncomplicated way I'd been happy before. Not with the naive trust I'd had in my previous marriage. But in a harder-earned, more cautious way. Happy with boundaries, happy with awareness, happy with eyes wide open. In January, my ex-husband moved across the country, took a job in Seattle, said he needed a fresh start. Our son would see him during summer break and school holidays, video calls on weekends. I thought I'd feel relieved. Instead, I felt sad for my son, sad that his father chose distance over the hard work of being present, sad that he'd keep losing pieces of the man who was supposed to be his constant. But life continued. My son thrived, made the school soccer team, got led in the class play, brought home report cards full of A's. He still had his moments of sadness about his father, but they became less frequent. Elliot moved in with us in March. My son was ecstatic. My ex-husband was furious. He threatened legal action, claimed I was replacing him. His lawyer sent a stern letter about maintaining boundaries with new partners. My lawyer responded that my ex-husband had forfeited his right to dictate my personal life when he'd chosen to have an affair in our shared home. The legal threats stopped. My brother got engaged to Beatrice in April. Simple proposal in their favorite bookstore. His daughters were thrilled. They asked if they could call her mom. She cried and said they could call her whatever felt comfortable. I watched my brother build something new and real with someone who deserved him, who chose him every day, who'd never make him doubt or question or wonder. It gave me hope. In June, on what would have been my 10th wedding anniversary to my ex-husband, Elliot and I went hiking. We didn't talk about the significance of the date. He probably didn't even know. But at the summit, looking out over the valley, he asked if I'd ever want to get married again. Maybe, I said. Someday. To the right person. What makes someone the right person? Consistency. Honesty. Choosing me even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. He took my hand. What if I told you I choose you? Every day. Even on the hard days. I'd say that's a good start. We stood there, the breeze carrying away the last remnants of my old life. The one where I'd trusted too easily and loved too blindly. The one where I'd believed promises and ignored warning signs. This new life was different. Built on a foundation of painful lessons and hard-won wisdom. But it was mine, fully, completely, without compromise or deception. My ex-husband never remarried, never had more children. His relationship with our son remained distant but civil. Video calls every Sunday. Visits during summer and holidays. He was present but not connected. Going through the motions but never quite there. Natasha had 2 more children with her new partner. My brother saw pictures occasionally through mutual acquaintances. She looked happy. Whether she actually was remained a mystery. Some people are good at looking happy, at performing contentment while chaos churns beneath. I stopped checking her social media, stopped wondering about her life. She was a chapter in my story, but not the whole book. My teaching career flourished. I became department head, started mentoring new teachers, found purpose in the work I'd been doing while my marriage crumbled around me. The kids in my classroom became my focus. Their growth, their learning, their small victories. Elliot proposed 2 years after we started dating. Nothing dramatic. Just us, in our kitchen, making dinner together. He turned to me and said, "I want to do this forever. Will you marry me?" I said yes. We got married in the fall. Small ceremony. Just family and close friends. My son walked me down the aisle. My brother was my man of honor. Beatrice was a bridesmaid. Elliot's sister played piano. My ex-husband wasn't invited. He sent a card anyway. "Congratulations. I hope he makes you happy." I threw it away unopened. Our wedding wasn't perfect. It rained. The cake got delivered late. The photographer got lost on the way to the venue. But it was real. Built on a foundation that wouldn't crumble at the first sign of difficulty. Built on truth instead of lies. My son gave a toast at the reception. He was 10 years old and so nervous his voice shook. "Elliot isn't my dad," he said, "but he's my family. And that's just as important." There wasn't a dry eye in the room. Life moved forward. Not perfect, but honest. Not easy, but worthwhile. I learned that happiness isn't about avoiding pain. It's about choosing people who won't cause it deliberately, who will stand beside you when things get hard instead of creating the hardness themselves. My ex-husband remains a cautionary tale I never tell. I don't badmouth him to our son. Don't use him as an example of what not to do. But in my own mind, in my own heart, he's a lesson I'll never forget. Some betrayals are accidental, born of weakness or circumstance or momentary stupidity. Those can sometimes be forgiven, sometimes healed. But his betrayal was intentional, calculated, sustained over 2 years of deliberate choices. Of looking me in the eye and lying, of converting our home office into a space for his affair, of spending our money on another woman, of building a life with my sister-in-law in the margins of our marriage. That kind of betrayal doesn't heal. It severs, permanently. On my good days, I'm grateful. His affair forced me to become someone stronger, someone who knows her worth, someone who won't accept less than she deserves. On my bad days, I'm angry. At him for the betrayal, at Natasha for the deception, at myself for not seeing it sooner, but mostly I'm at peace. I survived the worst thing I thought could happen to me. I rebuilt. I found love again, real love this time, the kind that doesn't hide in guest bedrooms and secret hotels, the kind that exists in daylight. My son is 15 now, thriving. He sees his biological father twice a year. They have an okay relationship, not close, but not hostile. Elliot has been more of a father to him than his biological dad ever was after the divorce. That's just reality. My brother and Beatrice have a daughter, sweet little girl who calls me aunt. His older daughters are in high school now, well-adjusted despite everything. Mom and dad are getting older but still healthy, still hosting Sunday dinners. Still the steady foundation our family is built on. I teach 4th grade still. Love my job. Come home to a husband who asks about my day and actually listens to the answer. To a son who's become a remarkable young man despite his early trauma. This is my life now, built from the ruins of my old one. Better, stronger, Mine. Sometimes I think about that Christmas dinner 5 years ago. The moment my world imploded. The moment everything I believed about my marriage and my family shattered. If I could go back and prevent it, would I? I don't know. Because that night, as devastating as it was, set me free. Free from a marriage built on lies. Free from a man who'd never truly chosen me. Free from a life that looked perfect, but was rotting from the inside. The truth destroyed my old life, but it gave me space to build a new one. And this one is real. Last year, something unexpected happened. My ex-mother-in-law reached out. She was dying. Cancer. Stage 4. She had maybe 6 months. She wanted to see me before the end. I almost said no. I'd spent years building walls between myself and that family. Years protecting my peace from people who'd chosen my ex-husband over accountability. But she'd been kind to me once. Before the affair. Before everything fell apart. She taught me to make her famous apple pie. Had come to every school play I directed. Had called me daughter. So I went. She looked smaller than I remembered. Fragile in a way that made my chest tight. We sat in her living room drinking tea while her hospice nurse gave us privacy. "I'm sorry," she said, "for not being stronger back then, for not telling him he was wrong, for maintaining a relationship with him after what he did to you. He's your son. That doesn't excuse it. I raised him to be better, to value family, to keep his promises. And when he failed, I should have held him accountable instead of making excuses." I didn't know what to say. "You were a good wife," she continued. "A good mother, a good daughter-in-law. You deserved better than what he gave you. Thank you. I see pictures of you sometimes, on your brother's social media. You look happy now, really happy." "I am," she smiled. "Good. That's good." We talked for another hour, about nothing important, about everything important. When I left, she hugged me tight and whispered, "I'm proud of the life you built. I'm proud of who you became after everything." She died 5 weeks later. My ex-husband called to tell me, asked if I'd come to the funeral. I said no. He understood, but I sent flowers, white roses, her favorite, with a card that said simply, "Thank you for everything." My brother asked me later why I'd gone to see her, why I'd maintained contact with someone from that part of my life. "Because forgiveness isn't about them," I said. "It's about me, about not carrying anger forever, about recognizing that people are complicated, that his mother was flawed but also kind, that she tried, even if she failed." He nodded. "I get that." My son graduated high school last spring, honor roll, full scholarship to state university. He wants to be a teacher. Says I inspired him, that watching me help kids learn and grow showed him what he wanted to do with his life. His biological father came to graduation, sat in the back, didn't try to talk to us, just watched his son accept awards and diplomas and accolades, watched him thank Elliot in his speech, thank me, thank the family that raised him after his father chose distance. I saw my ex-husband crying, saw him leave before the ceremony ended, saw him walk to his car alone while our son celebrated with friends and family. Part of me felt sad for him, for everything he'd lost, for the relationship he could have had with his son if he'd made different choices, for the life he'd thrown away chasing something that was never real. But mostly I felt grateful. Grateful I wasn't that person anymore. The one who'd stayed with someone who didn't value her. The one who'd accepted crumbs of affection and called it love. The one who'd ignored every warning sign because she wanted to believe in forever. I'm not that person anymore. Haven't been for years. I'm someone who knows her worth now. Someone who walks away when people show her they're not capable of the love she deserves. Someone who rebuilt from nothing and created something beautiful. My son moves into his dorm next week. Elliot and I are helping him pack. We're planning to spend our first empty nest year traveling, see all the places we put off while raising a teenager. My brother and Beatrice are planning to do the same, now that her daughter is in preschool and his daughters can manage with their aunt for weekend trips. We're talking about taking a vacation together, the 4 of us. 2 couples who survived their partner's betrayals and found something real on the other side. Sometimes I wonder if my ex-husband thinks about that Christmas dinner, if he replays the moment it all fell apart, if he wishes he could go back and make different choices. I don't know. We don't talk anymore. Haven't in years. Our son is an adult now. No custody arrangements. No forced communication. Just complete separation. He's remarried, apparently. Someone he met online. They have a baby on the way. Our son told me reluctantly, unsure how I'd react. I felt nothing. No jealousy. No anger. No hurt. Just a distant hope that he'd learned something. That he wouldn't make the same mistakes with his new family that he made with us. But I don't think about him much anymore. He's a character in a story I finished years ago. Not forgotten, but not relevant either. My life is here, in this house with Elliot, in the classroom with my students, in Sunday dinners with my family, in the quiet, ordinary moments that make up a real life, a good life, a life I chose instead of one I settled for. That Christmas dinner was the worst night of my life, the night everything I believed in shattered, the night I lost my marriage, my trust, my innocence about love, but it was also the night I started becoming who I am now. Someone stronger, wiser, more careful, but also more capable of real love. Someone who knows that betrayal doesn't destroy you unless you let it. That you can survive the unsurvivable and build something better from the wreckage. I wouldn't wish that pain on anyone, wouldn't want anyone to experience what I went through, what my brother went through, what our children went through, but I also wouldn't undo it. Because undoing it would mean losing everything I have now, would mean staying in a marriage built on lies, would mean never meeting Elliot, never becoming this version of myself. So when people ask if I'm happy, I say yes, and I mean it. Not despite what happened, but because of what I did with what happened, because I chose to rebuild instead of staying broken, because I chose to trust again instead of closing off forever. Because I chose me, and that choice made all the difference.